Good morning, everyone. Happy Sunday and happy February. Welcome into another edition of WST Sunday Live. My name's Hrabchak. In a moment, I'll be joined by my co-host, Lyss Houde. And together, we're going to break down the Winnipeg Jets' 2-1 win over the Florida Panthers yesterday. They did it. They have a comeback win when trailing after, or this is actually their second one of the season, their comeback win when trailing after 2. The Jets were 1-18-2 in that scenario going into yesterday's game, trailing after 2. They had only won one game all year long, and they did it a second time yesterday afternoon in kind of a matinee game against the Florida Panthers. Comrie was fantastic. Cole Perfetti scores a goal. Mark Scheifele scores a goal assisted by Kyle Connor. And guess who? Gustav Nyquist for the game winner. Just a crazy game yesterday against the Florida Panthers. And look, for a while there, it was looking like it was the exact same game from a week and a half ago where Cole Perfetti ties it. It's 1-1 in the third. I was thinking to myself, if this game ends in a Florida shootout win, I think I'd just watch the exact same game. But that wasn't the case. The Jets pick up the 2 points in Sunrise, and now they'll take on the Dallas Stars tomorrow night, Monday night, to close out this 4-game road trip, and then they have one game left before the Olympic break at home against the Montreal Canadiens. A WST ticket pack night. Join us if you can. Can't wait for that one. Let's bring in my co-host on this Sunday morning, Lyss Houde. Lyss, how are you doing this morning, and how's your weekend going so far?
I'm doing well. I'm honestly glad that we have a win to talk about in a certain way. Like, don't get me wrong. I think that everything always goes under, kind of without saying at this point, that I don't know how much belief we have that we're going to be seeing game 83 and beyond for this group.
Right.
But it is nice to kind of get out of the weeds a little bit to be able to talk about a win, just because, I think the fan base deserves some good things to talk about, and everyone's, mad about if it's impacting the tank and all this different stuff. Like, babe, the tank's still on. Don't you worry about it. Like, it's so I'm looking forward to chatting with you about it. Really looking forward to it's going to be an interesting month. Turn the calendar. It's February 1st here. Mm-hmm. It's going to be a wacky month. We only have 4 Jets games this entire month, but that doesn't mean there's going to be any shortage of hockey. Tons of men's and women's international play at the Olympics. So I'm dialed. Can't wait. But excited to talk about all that and more for the next hour and a bit. I just threw my headphones everywhere if anyone was watching.
Nice. There you go. Off to a hot start.
Dude, my best Caleb Williams for sure.
Nice. Yep. Yeah, I mean, you look at the standings, the Jets are still 8 points out of a playoff spot. And not only are they 8 points out of a playoff spot, San Jose, Anaheim, LA, and Seattle are all around it. So it's almost like you need 2 of those teams to fall out of it. And yeah, I mean, we can sit here and analyze the tank, the final 30 whatever games coming out of the Olympic break. But like you said, I think it's nice to talk about a win, the Jets with a comeback win. And Lyss, I think the biggest story from the game for me was Comrie. I don't know about you, but I mean, 27 of 28 saves thrown his way. The one goal that did go in was even like going wide, weird deflection that kind of just went in at the end of a power play. And he was awesome the rest of the game. And I know Mike McIntyre tweeted out his stats in his last 3 starts. Comrie's been awesome for the Winnipeg Jets when filling in for Connor Hellebuyck these last couple of games. And it's really puzzling to me that, when he was the starter this year, things kind of fell apart. Did he have the help in front of him? Absolutely not. But now that he's back to kind of his traditional backup role, these pinch hits for Connor Hellebuyck are going great. 3-0-0 in his last 3 starts, 72 saves on 75 shots, 1 goal against average in those games, 960 save percentage. So his last 3 starts list have been awesome, and I thought yesterday was no different.
No, absolutely. I think that he deserves a little bit of love after kind of what he's been going through to a degree, right? For sure. I think that there's been some conversation around him when people are talking about the Winnipeg Jets as sellers and, pending UFAs, and they're like, why is nobody talking about Eric Comrie and stuff? And I think that, at the end of the day, you put your starting goaltender, no matter who it is, into the same kind of category as, last year's New Jersey Devils and Jack Hughes, where it's like, I'm sorry, but it's not our year. If you're starting goalie is whoever you want to talk about, like if that guy goes down, it's not your year. And so you maybe want someone that you could upgrade a little bit more to come in for a third period to maybe keep you alive and only lose by 4 goals instead of by 6 or something like that. Sure. But it's not really a deadline type of acquisition. A backup goaltender isn't exactly necessarily something that's number one on everyone's wish list. But all that's to say, I think that Eric Comrie is a guy who's kind of flirted back and forth with the idea of could he be more than he is in a starting role, and kind of the biggest task that he got was exactly that in Connor Hellebuyck's absence. And I think there was a lot going wrong for the Winnipeg Jets at that time, right? And he certainly didn't help, and that sounds like I'm picking on the player, but I you can circle anyone you want. Perfetti certainly didn't help, whatever, right? Like, you know, you can talk about anyone in that regard. So I think that it was nice to see him have a good game. I think that there's a couple other things about the Jets and what they did in that game that I'll want to talk about as we go through this game. But overall, like, giving up 1 goal, holding it down when your team is able to get a little bit more momentum and come back and all this different stuff. That's all you can ask for, right? And we use that kind of turn of phrase a lot with backup goaltenders, is that's all you can ask for. And it truly is. So nice to see that for him. Hoping that, I don't know. I know they talked about this a little bit on Kenny and Rennie yesterday, but the workload going into and coming out of the Olympic break is really going to, I think, depend on what Connor Hellebuyck's next month looks like, right? So it'll be interesting to see if Eric Comrie gets the call a little bit more, if Connor Hellebuyck doesn't get much of a break as he heads off to Italy for not necessarily a wine tasting tour.
Yeah, not necessarily. And it's going to be interesting to workload the end of the season, because if the Jets are always 8-ish points out of a playoffs, are they always going to be thinking we have to start Hellebuyck tonight because this win could get us within 6 points? And we've seen how difficult it is to make up ground in the standings, not only for the Winnipeg Jets, but you look at the East. I mean, Buffalo had to be the best team in the NHL for 2 months to get into a solidified playoff spot. And there are even teams that are, and I know the line in the East is higher, but Columbus, 9-1-0 in their last 10, and they're still 6 points out of a playoff spot. Like, I don't really think that the playoffs this year, despite the win yesterday, we've talked about this the past couple of Sundays, it's going to be a very tall climb, and they need to offset the 11-game losing streak with probably an 11-game winning streak. But hey, I've said this a few times. To win 11 straight, you got to win 1 straight. And the Jets did that yesterday, Lyss. The Jets won 1 straight. Now they can go on and just win 10 more, and everything will be okay. But yesterday's game, I first want to get to Arniel's thoughts on the overall game before we talk about Cole Perfetti, because I thought of skaters, he was the best player for the Winnipeg Jets. But Ken Wiebe of the Winnipeg Free Press was on the road yesterday asking Scott Arniel the questions post-game. Here's what Scott Arniel had to say on his overall thoughts on the win over Florida.
Oh, I thought we played a hell of hockey. I think we had some great looks in the first and second. Bobrovsky made some 10-bell saves. But I just like the way we competed. We stayed in it, kind of like I said the other day, nose to nose with those guys, and what you have to do, because if you back off, they're going to run you over. And I thought we just did a really good job of winning our share of puck battles. Did a good job of limiting what we gave up. I think we only gave up 7 or 8 5-on-5 chances. So at the end of the day, hung in there, played strong, got to the third period, and obviously, to score those 2 big goals was a key for us, and got some great goaltending from Combs too.
So there it is, Scott Arniel post-game referencing that he thought his team played a very good hockey game, and Sergei Bobrovsky was awesome, which Bobrovsky certainly was in the first 2 periods at least, and then even in the third period. I mean, the 2 goals that he did give up, one is a rebound chance in the middle of the slot, the other one is a rush chance where all 3 guys touch the puck. No real chances for him on those. He was great in the first 2 periods, and yeah, I mean, credit to the Jets for taking advantage of a Panthers team that was very banged up. I mean, I know they're desperate and they need points too, but yesterday's game, they had no Brad Marchand, no Anton Lundell, And then the rest of their injuries, I mean, if you want to count Barkov, you can go ahead. Seth Jones, it was a recent injury that he's not there either. Nosek, Kulikov, Gadjevich. They have so many guys banged up. And the Jets, I do think we're the better team throughout that game list. And Bobrovsky kind of maybe kept the Panthers ahead earlier on. But then it was Cole Perfetti that got the Winnipeg Jets on the board. And I don't know about you, Lyss, but I think we can go for a rare appearance of the goal visualizer here on WST Sunday Live for this goal. Give me a moment to bring it up. But what did you think?
Talk about him.
Well, yeah. What did you think of Perfetti's game yesterday? He was awesome.
Yeah, I mean, I thought he was great, and it was so funny. I don't know. People follow me on Twitter. First of all, my apologies because I tweet every single thought that comes out of my brain. But second of all, I had made a tweet. I guess it would have been Friday when the Jets were practicing. And they put out the Perfetti Vilardi line,
yes.
And I put up a little gif of these guys. You know, they're roller skating and kind of they're synchronized and they're having a great time. You know, because I was like, bang, let's go. Obviously, Jonathan Toews hasn't had the best stretch of the last couple of games, and you know, I've been banging the drum for a little while. The best Winnipeg Jets line every single game is whatever line Gabe Vilardi's been on all year. So I've always kind of clamored for the idea of Lowry and Perfetti together, just because I know a lot of people really don't like that in terms of what that would look like matchup wise. Mm-hmm. But I think that there's something I'd want to try with those two players together. So I was happy to see them kind of get together. And I think also Adam Lowry has created a decent amount in the last few games, and a lot of plays are really just dying on his winger sticks. And not that Cole Perfetti and Gabe Vilardi are hot right now in terms of finishing, but there's a bit more there, right? You know, and
Cole
so
Perfetti's hot.
I was really
He's got one goal in his last one game. Red hot.
Who's hotter than him right now?
Yeah.
Actually, no, I can't even say that because this is what the month of the hat tricks or whatever. But
right.
Yeah, look, I think that Cole Perfetti had a great game kind of across the board. But this is fantastic play by Gabe Vilardi. So, like, you know, day that ends in Y,
Unreal.
whatever.
Yeah.
But it starts with the Josh Morrissey outlet pass, right? He kind of starts in his own zone. And it's one of those things that, again, if you try and look at it from the other side, which is the Florida side, you're like, hey, man, how do you let that happen? Because it's pretty evident that someone kind of is coming in to take Josh Morrissey, and then all of a sudden Gabe Vilardi's just super easily able to manage his own guy, and then everyone just crashes the blue paint. And what happens when, you know, people always talk about crashing the blue paint when, you know, you have your fourth liners, all this different stuff. When you have guys who know how to shoot the puck and guys who can score at a decently high clip, when they kind of get that garbage in front of the net as well, there's honestly a high likelihood that those pucks are going to go in because they don't necessarily have to crash and bang at them. They're able to, you know, pick corners or use a little bit more poise and whatever with the pucks that they get. And yeah, this puck comes right out in front. Cole Perfetti doesn't make a mistake. And yeah, it's funny if you watch the goal visualizer, he just beelines towards the net, right? Like, you see the type of shot that Gabe Vilardi's about to take. You see this type of secondary chance that's going to come up. Eric Comrie, in my opinion, better at controlling his rebounds in this game than Bobrovsky was. And this is another opportunity where, you know, everyone's coming down in numbers. Like, look at everyone collapsing that net. Like, the only player is Josh Morrissey, who's not within 5 feet of Sergei Bobrovsky's crease at that point. So, yeah, I thought it was an awesome goal. What did you see?
Yeah, the Vilardi move was the star of the show for me. Like, this play, let me go back through the neutral zone. I think it's managed pretty well by the Panthers, actually. Like, Petrie steps up on Perfetti. Balinskis is there on Lowry to step up immediately. Like, this isn't like Tampa Bay, where, you know, Dominic James is coming through and he's wide open through the neutral zone, breakaway, 5-hole goal on Hellebuyck. Like, this isn't that, at least in my opinion. And Bennett is even in a spot here to be on Vilardi in a decent position. Like, this is fine. I think you take this all day if you're the Florida Panthers, this scenario. But Vilardi puts this, like, incredible, like, stop and then go quick inside out move on Sam Bennett, who might be playing for Canada if Braden Point's not healthy enough next week, and beats him clean to the front of the net, and then shovels it on Bobrovsky. Perfetti's there for the rebound, and Perfetti had a number of awesome chances. Vilardi set him up for one on the power play earlier in the game. Vilardi set him up for 2 because, as I'm talking this out loud, there was another one Perfetti hit the post on, which was also a setup from Vilardi. So, I don't know. Maybe these two have chemistry. Maybe these, like, I really like what I've seen from Gabriel Vilardi really all season long. I think he's having a fantastic year. And that point you bring up, Lyss, about how every line that Gabe Vilardi's on is maybe not the Winnipeg Jets' best line, but it's productive always, and especially so at even strength too. It's quite interesting. And Cole Perfetti, again, yesterday, I thought was one of the Jets' best players, not just for the goal, but he generated a number of chances through a big hit in the neutral zone list. How about that? A big hit on Balinskis, a bigger hit than half this team's thrown in weeks in the month of January. Like I was like, okay, Cole.
Objectively hilarious that it was against Balinskis too, because I don't know if you remember just 2 weeks ago when Florida was in Winnipeg, and I think Winnipeg's only goal of that game, I don't remember who scored it, if it was Vilardi or whoever, but Jonathan Taves is the one who set it up, and he did Cole Perfetti score that goal? I don't
against Florida?
Remember.
Yeah. It was Perfetti.
Okay,
yeah,
it was, because Jonathan Taves,
he owns
kind of
the
similar
Panthers.
situation here.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
But Jonathan Taves totally made that happen, and it was Balinskis. So I think that's hilarious that the Balinskis probably just hates that guy.
Hates playing the Jets, or hates playing Perfetti.
Yeah, look, I think that this is a guy who's needed to get rolling kind of a little bit, but I think the thing that's tough getting me to speak on this is that to me that game looked better than some of his previous games, but in the last 15 or whatever, he's been good. He's been good to me. Like I've liked what I've seen from the player in a lot of different areas, and sure that there's some finishing problems, or people still get mad about different parts of what this player's profile provides, but I think he's been a really good hockey player since he's kind of gotten his feet back underneath him since his injury and everything like that. Like I think he's had a good stretch here.
Yeah, totally. And just quickly on Vilardi, I want to talk about him for a moment before I get back to Perfetti. Sorry, no, they're on the same line. They're on the same line. They did the same things yesterday. They were awesome. Vilardi this year, again, he was last year. He didn't play a full season, but his pace was 30 plus goals, 40 plus assists, 70 plus points. And this year he's on that same pace where he's on pace for exactly 30 goals, 41 assists, and 71 points. And despite him being at the exact same pace as last year, Lyss, I think this year is more impressive because he's gone down to the second line for long spurts and continued to produce away from Connor and Scheifele. And we know that the top line, when they're out there, they're going to be producing offense. They're going to be doing a lot of things, and especially on the power play too. Like the power play production is obviously a big thing for Vilardi. It always will be for the next 6 years of his contract. But I think this year, from an individual perspective for Vilardi, is more impressive because he's hitting all of those pace numbers that he did last year, but he's going and getting Cole Perfetti going. He's going and making Adam Lowry, generate a few chances off the rush yesterday too. Like I just am very impressed with what Vilardi's done this year. I think it obviously has flown under the radar a little bit because he's on the top line and everyone talks about Connor and Scheifele, rightfully so, with the offense from those two. But Lyss just said it earlier, and I'll stand by that. Vilardi, whatever line he's gone on this year, has produced offensively, and it's quite impressive. Cole Perfetti, back to him just for one moment, Lyss. You said the last little bit has been, kind of the same from Cole Perfetti. You think he looks good. You're bang on. Since January 1st, he's got 9 points in 16 games. That's a 0.56 points per game pace, which is roughly 46 points, and he had 50 last year. That's a 46-point pace, over an 82-game sample. If you took January over the whole season, he's producing right around the same pace that he produced at last year. In January as well, 4th on the team in even strength scoring behind the top 3 guys, Connor, Scheifele, Vilardi. 2nd on the team in even strength shots on goal behind only Kyle Connor. 3rd on the team in even strength shot attempts in January as well. And all of his on-ice metrics check out too. I mean, the goal share with him on the ice in January, 62%, 13-8 in the Jets' favor. Expected goal share, 55.7%. Number 1 among all forwards on the Winnipeg Jets. This is Cole Perfetti's even strength on-ice metrics. Shot attempt share, 1st on the team. Shot share, 2nd on the team. High danger chance share, scoring chance share, over 53%. So this is what we saw in January is looking more like the Cole Perfetti we saw last season, both from a points pace perspective, but also the possession numbers, the underlying metrics list, where when he's on the ice, regardless of who he's with, they're out-chancing their opponents. They're out-shooting their opponents. They're winning their minutes, and it's resulting in more goals for the Winnipeg Jets.
Yeah, weirdly enough, you're just, praising Cole Perfetti. I'm going to go back to Gabe Vilardi for a second. I think all this is in spite of the fact that, Gabe Vilardi, I think, is having a good season for sure. But when you're watching him, there are so many more chances that are coming his way that he totally could finish on. I'm like, what is going on with these hands, man? Like, I feel like he's not, like, in perfect midseason form, and this is still all happening, right? So I think that, he's been fantastic. And, Cole Perfetti, can we talk about him getting back on that first power play unit too? Because I think that's also huge for him. I think it's deserving to a degree. I think that, better than Gus Nyquist coming back in, because sometimes that does happen after he's missed X number of games as a healthy scratch. He does get to come back in on that first power play unit. Though I didn't think he looked terrible yesterday, but we can talk about him
later. In a second. Yeah,
but
we'll talk about him in a moment.
Yeah, look, I think that I'm not going to take victory laps around people, because there's no victory lap to be taken about anybody in this Winnipeg Jets season. But also because there's no fun in that. But if this player is not performing, he's a buy low candidate for me always. And if this player is performing, it's me saying, hey, I told you so, because I really believe in his skill set and his toolkit and everything. And I understand that in the year of concern in and around the Winnipeg Jets' lack of foot speed, there is something to be said about this player and the kind of value he provides to the group. I get that for sure. But at the end of the day, I think there's a ton of value that he can still bring. And I think that, we saw it yesterday in terms of kind of some diversified stuff. Like you said, the hit, the goal getting scored kind of from the blue paint, a couple of really nasty looks from the bumper on the power play. And then also just in general, I think he had a couple of really nice passes off the entry, just different things like that show that this player is capable of hanging with the big boys.
Yeah. And I like that point that there's no victory laps to be taken, because Cole Perfetti is I wouldn't say like one of the top reasons, but still a big reason why the Winnipeg Jets are in the position that they're in. Like the fact that he had, well, I mean, it's true. He had the high ankle sprain. I'm not blaming him for the high ankle sprain, but since he came back, it's just, it hasn't been there. But again, in a lost season like this, Lyss, or at least what we're projecting is a lost season, what you want to see is your youngest player in your lineup, outside of Elias Salamonson, who we can talk about a little bit later on. What you want to see is them get back to the form that they've shown previously. And look, last year, Perfetti had Ehlers on his wing. He ends up with 50 points. He was never on the top power play. And then this year, Ehlers leaves, and he's projected to go up to the top power play. He needs to carry the secondary scoring, all of these things. There's these super high expectations for him. And the high ankle sprain really did derail his season. I mean, when he came back from it, the first 2 months there, or whatever it was, rough. But let's call a spade here. I think in January, he was a lot better. And his points pace without Nikolai Ehlers didn't walk through that door, but maybe Gabriel Vilardi did. His point pace is a lot better.
The Jets at the beginning of January were on a 6-game losing streak, ? Yes. This was still in the heart of on their way climbing to 11 games that are like, this wasn't like they were playing unbelievable hockey either or anything like that. But I think that there's a lot of love to be spread around for that player in terms of whether you like it or not. Like, that player needs to get going, because if you don't believe in him, well, he needs to get going so that the Jets can actually trade him for something of value. Right. So I think that there's a lot that you can like about the player getting a little bit back more into last year's season form.
Absolutely. Before we move on to Gustav Nyquist, because I want to talk about him a little bit. Crazy. Let's hear from Scott Arniel on Cole Perfetti and Perfetti's goal. Arniel was asked by Ken Wiebe of the Winnipeg Free Press on the road last night if Perfetti's goal is a good example of a player going to the hard areas, something that Arniel has been preaching for a number of weeks now.
Perfetti's goal is a great example, isn't it?
It is, and and there was a few examples of that tonight that, with Florida, if you stay on the outside, you're not going to get much. And, obviously that goal, Gabe taking the net to start, Lau kind of crashing down in there, and then him coming in if he doesn't go inside to find that rebound. And, that with Bobrovsky, he's pretty good at stopping the initial. It's those rebounds that, you got to go find those pucks. And that's what we did, and we got rewarded for it.
So there it is, Scott Arniel on Cole Perfetti and going to the hard areas and all the things that he's been preaching so far this season. And Cole Perfetti absolutely did it yesterday and was one of the Jets' best forwards. And Lyss, I didn't think we'd be talking about this to kick off February, but Gustav Nyquist last night took many shifts with Connor and Scheifele, set up the game winner, nice pass, well, not the primary assist, but a key secondary assist on the game winner. I joked with Ken Wiebe. We interviewed him Friday on WST Daily, and it was projected at the time that Nyquist would come back into the lineup. And I said, Ken, is this the Gustav Nyquist showcase game against Florida? I don't know, play him and hope that he produces something. And then when the Jets had nothing offensively in terms of goals halfway through the third period, and I'm seeing Connor, Scheifele, Nyquist, I was like, yeah, this is the Gustav Nyquist showcase game. Like, absolutely. Like, they don't have a goal. And
is it though? Because he's played a decent amount with that line in the past, like in terms of a quick promotion. Yeah, he has. More than anyone not named Gabe Vilardi.
Do we want to check?
And if something, go check right now. Because Gabe Vilardi has played with that line more than anyone else this year. Yeah. And obviously his line was clicking to a certain degree. Alex Iafallo would be second. He's got to be third.
Well, no, I'm searching up Gustav Nyquist's most common teammates, and I'm going to see how many minutes
It's not his most common teammates. It's Connor and Scheifele's most common line mate. He would be number 3. I almost guarantee that. And if it's not clicking with them with who they got, you're not replacing him with Gabe Vilardi because you don't want to break up that line that is having a decent game or whatever. He's their next best option. I'm not surprised that happened whatsoever. I don't think it's a showcase game. I thought that was genuinely what they thought that their best course of action towards offense was.
Quick look at Nyquist. I don't think it's looking good for you, but I'll go to Scheifele. I'll go to Scheifele. Teammates. I need to wait for it to load. Like, Nyquist has played more minutes himself with Koepke, Pearson, Barron, Nemesnikov, Taves, Niederreiter.
And I'm saying it's like it adds up to maybe 2 full games, but it's still more than anyone else. It would be him, and then Morgan Barron was out there for a couple of random shifts with Mark Scheifele here and there, which is also
Nino has apparently spent more time. So there's Nino has apparently spent more time with Mark Scheifele, 32 minutes to 38.
Not Mark Scheifele. It's also Kyle Connor. Is it not both of them? Can you get the natural stat trick up there,
bro? Mark Scheifele has played with Kyle Connor every single game, every single shift this year. What
one is wanting the other.
Unfound time frame are we working with here where Scheifele hasn't been with Connor? Like, what?
No, okay, but when and then add the other filter of when Gus Nyquist is in the lineup because he's also been scratched.
Right. If you change 8 filters, Gustav Nyquist is
I think we could also both be right to a certain degree. Sure, it's a showcase game, but also in terms of the offensive toolkit that this player has, the way he kind of like was cutting around the blue line,
Yeah, okay.
There's something there. Bad. You and I got into an argument with our good buddy Jacob Stoller weekend about the trade value of Gus Nyquist, and you and I think are on a similar page that we think that there is an element of some value to be had if someone were to trade for Gus Nyquist, regardless of the fact that he doesn't have any goals this year. If the Winnipeg Jets are willing to retain some of his salary, I think someone would spend a pick on him. I don't know how nice the pick would be, but hey, it is what it is. But yeah, what did you think of him?
I thought he was good in yesterday's game and like deserving of the promotion too. I'd say I didn't think he was necessarily just out there and then, he popped up with Connor and Scheifele. Like, I actually thought he had some moments. Carrying the puck through the neutral zone some nice entry passes, which when Gustav Nyquist has been in the lineup this year, I'd say that's his biggest asset to the team is there are different ways to enter the zone with control of the puck. You can do the Nikolai Ehlers thing where you just are faster than everyone else and you just skate into the zone, or you can kind of pick your way methodically, make a few nice passes and make your way into the zone. I think Nyquist does the second side of that a little bit better than people give him credit for. End of sentence there. But I honestly, when I was shocked when he was up with Connor and Scheifele. And again, I get it. They're down a goal. It's an offensive zone shift, and you're playing Nyquist instead of Iafallo. You're chasing the game. You're looking for offense. So I think it's a smart move from Scott Arniel. For a guy to go from the press box to the top line, and every time he comes in, he goes from the press box to the power play.
Objectively hilarious to the power play, too. So funny.
And against, Florida, again, they're so hurt. I don't know what their cap situation is going to be like come trade deadline, come the playoffs, all of this stuff. But I just found it to be the most obvious Gustav Nyquist showcase game. But maybe he earned himself another game. Maybe Dallas is interested in some Gustav Nyquist, too. Maybe we can see him on Monday, Maybe.
Oh, gracious. Maybe. Sure. Maybe. Hey, you know what? He could, but also, where's the Tanner Pearson showcase game? Because they also need to be shopping that.
Well, there have been 40 Tanner Pearson showcase games or whatever the number is.
Yeah, very true. Very true.
But for a guy that was scratched, it was the coming back in. And let's get to that goal visualizer. Bring it up. He makes a really nice play on this goal where he takes it back. It's the Sandberg Salamonson pairing.
Gus Nyquist move.
Yes, the reset in the neutral zone. And then I don't know what Sam Reinhart's doing here on this goal. I mean, I get it. You think Nyquist is in the middle of the slot and probably the most dangerous guy with the puck, so you try and pick off this pass. But he goes like down on one knee, completely takes himself out of the play, gives Kyle Connor either a breakaway or a backdoor tap into Mark Scheifele. Really nice play from the Winnipeg Jets. And it's a nice play from Nyquist, who, like we said, you can skate into the zone Nikolai Ehlers style and just go past everyone. Or you can make a pass to Scheifele. He passes it back to you. You make a nice little area pass to Kyle Connor. Boom, boom. Backdoor tap in, and you get the win that way. So, again, credit to Gustav Nyquist, because it's not easy going from the press box for, games, weeks at a time, and coming right in. And in the third period, suddenly you're on the top line and you're needing to produce and score goals and all of these things. So got to give him credit for that, because I thought, given the circumstances of him having not played for a while and a player who has spent all of his career before this season not going through the whole healthy scratch business, I thought he came in and immediately had an impact on the game. And that's, like we talked about, Eric Comrie with backup goaltenders coming in, Lyss. That's all you can ask for your 13th forward coming in and making an impact. And then obviously ending up on the top line at the end of the game. So shout out Gustav Nyquist. Lyss was wrong that Nino Niederreiter has spent more time.
I don't believe that. Stats aren't real.
Yeah, analytics are hogwash. Okay, let's move on. Let's move on to, do you have anything else on yesterday's game, or do you want to get to a little bit of trade deadline talk?
No, let's jump right to it.
Because insiders have been hyping up the trade freeze prior to the holiday. I don't think anything's going to happen.
Insiders are hyping up. Lame.
I mean, fair. But look, the what everyone is hyping up is the pre-Olympic trade freeze, which is February 4th, or it's a roster freeze. You can still do some AHL transaction kind of things because the AHL is not stopping playing. But anyways, I don't think that this is going to be some massive second trade deadline. But do you?
That was supposed to be December 31st, and then it was
supposed to be right. But the actual trade deadline is March 6th, Lyss, and that is about a month away. 7 games away for the Winnipeg Jets, because they'll play 2 before the break, 5 after the break, and then get immediately to the trade deadline. Where are you at on the many pending UFAs? We can talk about Stanley. I mean, we talk about Stanley every Sunday, but maybe we could start. We talked about Nyquist a little bit there in terms of his value. And I also want to ask about some of the guys that aren't necessarily pending UFAs, but we'll get to that in a moment. Out of the pending UFAs, what's kind of your pulse check on Stanley, Schenn, Nyquist, Taves, Koepke, Pearson? Where are you at on those guys?
Yeah, it's really funny because I think that, and again, no victory laps to be taken here or anything like that, but obviously the Logan Stanley goal heater has cooled off a scooch just because he hasn't really scored in the last little bit. And I think that a lot of people are kind of coming around on the trade side and everything like that just because of the state of the team. Because I understand, depending on what your perception of the value of the player was, when the Winnipeg Jets were still quote unquote in it in December, and then, and even at the beginning of January, whatever, I think pretty much everyone's accepted the fact that mathematically it's going to be very difficult for them to crawl their way into the playoffs. And even if they do, look at the Central Division, blah, blah, blah. I think a lot of people are now in this camp of understanding that trading Stanley is probably going to be the best bang for your buck. And especially now that he isn't scoring every 3 games or whatever it was, right? I think, I think the likelihood of that player getting moved is still incredibly high. I have been in that camp for a while. A lot of people think that, it's not in the Jets' character to move him and stuff. I think it is. I think they'll move him. I think they'll move Luke Schenn. Outside of that, I think that there's a certain element of, if you trade away every single pending UFA that the Winnipeg Jets have, that frees up a roster spot. I don't know what Hayden Fleury's prognosis is right now. But Neil Pionk will be back eventually. So Luke Schenn, 1 for 1, Neil Pionk, no harm, no foul. Bring someone else up to play left-handed defense in that third pairing role. Sure, there's lots of guys from the Moose that could. You could bring up Billy, you could bring up Kale Clegg, you can bring Isaac Phillips back. Lots of guys who can come in, play that third pairing role. No problem. It gets interesting to me when you start looking at the forward group. In a world where they were to make a transaction that gets rid of Nyquist, Koepke, Pearson, Taves, that's 4 guys that right now, I believe on any given night, 3 of those guys would be playing. I think that one of the healthy scratches, the 13th forward, is pretty much always within that group of guys. It's not really a Morgan Barron. And, after 1 game or 2 games or whatever, it's not really been a Niederreiter or a Namestnikov either. Yep. Then you start needing to look at bringing up a David Gustafsson, a Jared Anderson-Dolan, or whoever you are thinking, or maybe Nikita Chibrikov, Brad Lambert, Braden Yager, someone like that. So you have to actually start looking at who comes in. But who do you take out? It's but who do you put in?
Yeah.
So I think all that's to say, if that's the hardest decision you have to make, that's a really good position to be in, is who of the Moose is going to be playing, 8 minutes a night on your fourth line. But I think the Winnipeg Jets are going to be taking phone calls on every single pending UFA that they have right now. I genuinely believe that. The only one that has a question mark to me is Jonathan Toews, just because I'm really convinced that this player did not come back here to get moved at the trade deadline and go somewhere and chase another cup. And to be honest with you, probably get scratched wherever he would go if he's not playing in the, because a lot of these teams that would be looking at buying a player like that, they might not play him every single night if he's not performing at the, like, they're not going to, lean into the story the same way the Winnipeg Jets are going to lean into.
Sure. I do think, though, that if teams were acquiring him, it's for the fourth line center, like face-off specialist role, which we talked about like a year ago or last summer being that for the Jets. Hopefully you're good enough down the middle that you don't need Toews to be your second line center. But for these other teams, if they were looking at it, for sure, it's such a unique situation and one that we're really so unsure of that we just don't really know until we get past March 6th if Jonathan Toews is, because they're having these conversations for sure. Toews and the management staff, hey, do you want to be here? Hey, do you want to get moved? All of these things. And if they haven't happened yet, these conversations, they'll happen over the Olympic break. They'll happen with that 1 week to go until the trade deadline, because the Jets are absolutely going to get calls from other GMs saying, hey, what's the status on Jonathan Toews? Are you moving him? We're interested, because a lot of those teams like Colorado, Tampa Bay, all the teams that were linked to Jonathan Toews in the free agency process are teams that could use a fourth line center. And a lot of teams like to get better at the bottom of their lineup if they feel that they have the star power and all of those things. So interesting situation there. Logan Stanley. These last couple of games haven't been great for him. In the last 5 games, he's been outscored 8-2 at even strength. Him on the ice at even strength. Expected goal shares 29%. Outshot 41-28. 3 minor penalties, no goals. So he's hasn't scored. So I'm trying to put this like he hasn't scored. So that you talk about maybe the shine wearing off a little bit, Lyss. I think that is the obvious biggest reason. Like, since the back scratcher goal against the Minnesota Wild, which was an absolute howitzer, it's been 8 or so games, which is normal for Logan Stanley, normal for third pairing defensemen. That's totally fine for him not to score in 8 straight games or whatever. But in that same time, they're getting heavily outchanced, outshot, and outscored with him on the ice at even strength. So it's been an interesting 2 weeks for Logan Stanley, and it's going to be interesting to see if they move him at the deadline. And if they do talk extension, what the rumored numbers would be from a Winnipeg Jets and Logan Stanley perspective. I saw someone bring up earlier on that they're some of the extra year guys. I want to ask you about those lists, because Vlad Namestnikov, Nino Niederreiter, Morgan Barron, I've been asking people on the big show this week who they think is the most likely to move out of those 3. And I think there's a common sentiment that Morgan Barron brings you the most back if you're moving any of those 3 players.
Yeah,
but
correct.
If you had to put, who is number 1 on your unofficial 3-person power poll for most likely to be traded out of that group?
Yeah, I think I would probably put... Ooh, that's actually tough. In terms of trying to scope out the Jets' behavior and then also, like what's available on the market, whatever, I might go Nino at number 1. And then I might go...
Interesting.
Morgan Barron number 2, Vlad number 3. Just because I think Vlad, in terms of the whole idea of how much the Jets seem to like him to a certain degree versus what he would actually net you at this point, I don't know what that would actually look like for the Jets. I think Niederreiter is a guy who has a certain level of I don't know what, like, not prestige, but like he's got a reputation around the league that I think a lot of people would still be interested in banking on with, you know, an extra year of control, this, that, whatever. And I think that Morgan Barron is the type of guy that I don't know how much people would be paying attention to him outside of this market. I think that if you're, you know, trying to sit down and, like, if you sent a scout to a game or whatever to sort of watch and key on a Morgan Barron, they might be like, okay, this guy's got the sauce. So I do think that people would be able to pick up on what his, you know, profile would be willing to or able to offer pretty quickly.
Speaking of that, can I just jump in real quick? The whole Jets Red Wings thing, and then like Elliot Friedman being like, oh, I wonder if they're thinking about Logan Stanley. If the Red Wings trade for Logan Stanley, or Luke Shen for that matter, because that pairing in this game was brutal, I'm convinced like NHL management and their pro scouts don't watch their own team's games, because the Stanley Shen pairing maybe had their worst game of the season when they lost 5-1 to the Red Wings last week. So I don't know how like a week later, I don't know. Again, they're working with a larger sample, all of that stuff. But like,
I think
it's just funny to me that like, the Red Wings could be available for either of the
third pair guys. But the larger sample should also make you not want to trade for either of those guys. So
like the Red Wings could be interested in the Jets' third pair as a whole. Like they let up, they were on the ice for 4 goals against in the game last week against them.
Right?
Yeah, it's like okay.
No,
anyways,
exactly.
continue.
No, I know, and I think that, but the one thing that I will be kind of keeping an eye on and think is very interesting is this very much like a la carte, build your own fantasy hockey trade package,
Jets
where
a la carte
the Jets
at the deadline
have a bunch of those pending UFAs, but then they also have that secondary class of the guys with 1 extra year, like those 3 that you just mentioned. You could toss Dylan DeMello or whatever into that category if you want as well, where there could be a team that's looking to, you know, make a bigger move. They want to get more roster spots filled in their team with one single transaction. I think there's a possibility that we could see some bundles coming out of Winnipeg, depending on, just because there are that many players that I think they should be taking calls on and probably are taking calls on. It all depends on what teams want and everything like that. I know it's a Thomas Durantism for sure to talk about the whole concept of trading for a National Hockey League pairing, because sometimes if a pairing plays really well together on a certain team, if they're both kind of, you know, on the market or whatever, like, why not trade for both of them and just plug Stanley Shen into your third pairing? I know why you don't do that, because finish your own sentence there. Like, that's not a good path to go down by any means. But if you think that there's potential for, you know, Nino Niederreiter and Vlad Messerov to both come in and, you know, hound on your fourth line or something like that, and you think that it's a lot of money,
right? Like,
it's a lot of money. And it's, so I don't actually think there's a world in which that actually happens. I think the most likely scenario is a pending UFA with one of those 3 guys, like a Morgan Barron or something like that, for a larger return that I could see. Again, I know Kevin Cheveldayoff has been at the brunt of a lot of the conversations. The one benefit of the doubt that I have always given him and will continue to give him until he proves me otherwise is that, with the exception of last year's trade deadline, when either given a directive or being painted into a specific corner, I do believe in his ability to make a really, really good transaction, the same way that we saw the Rucker McGroarty thing work out and everything like that. We need
like Vlad Nemeskov to publicly demand a trade out of Winnipeg, and then it's like, wow, they got a first rounder for Vlad. Like we just need
book it.
We need something like really messy for Cheveldayoff to be backed into the corner, and then just miraculously, that would be
Sounds
awesome.
good. Yeah, publicly messy. That's something that is going to happen with this group of
totally
active players. But I think that this is kind of like a workaround nothingness kind of rant that I'm going on right now, just because I don't really know what happens, but there are a lot of teams that are going to be looking to buy. There aren't a lot of players available. We've been saying this from the beginning, where it's, you know, it's Artemi Panarin and then not even Alex Tuch at this point, right? So I think that there's definitely going to be, you know, there are going to be suitors. There are going to be people. I've been starting to watch Bridgerton again, so I'm going to try not to fall into all these British isms from that show. But there are going to be callers. There are going to be people who are interested in the diamond of the season for sure. And the diamond of the season is Logan Stanley.
Wow.
Just kidding.
Wow. The Bridgerton references are going crazy.
Bridgerton references for 60. Where else are you getting these guys?
Nowhere else. I think it's Vlad. I agree with your take that Nino Niederreiter has the prestige and like the body of work where he's been a 20 goal scorer however many times in his career and is on pace for, you know, roughly 13, 14 goals this year, bigger body in the bottom 6, all of those things. But I think the salary is a big part of this, where Vlad is making $3 million, Nino's making $4 million, and I like Nino would be a like the versatility for Nemestikov, I think, is a big thing as well. Nino's obviously a winger, strictly goal scoring type, goes to the front of the net, all of those things. But Vlad, I think, has that versatility where he can kick to center, he can kick to the wing, and he's the type that if the Jets retained on a deal like that too, if Vlad is your 13th forward at $2 million a season, that's not the worst thing in the world either for a lot of teams. So I could see a team like Edmonton. The thing is, like, you look at all, like, I think Edmonton would be perfect for Nino Niederreiter in a world where the salary cap doesn't exist. Like it's just, there are so many teams around the league where either they've given up their assets and the Jets, maybe shouldn't be looking to make deals with them because they don't have first round picks or all of these things. But they also just don't have the cap to fit players in and stuff like that. So, I mean, like Florida last night, I'm like, oh, is this the Gustav Nyquist showcase game? Well, they're currently like $8 million under the projected cap if they brought back Barkov today. Like they need to accrue more deadline cap space, and then they might even have to make decisions in the playoffs too with some of their roster. Because is that in effect this year, Lyss, the playoff cap? Or is that next year?
Yeah, I think that starts this year.
Yeah.
Well, most of the stuff doesn't, but that one, I think anything to do with the playoff cap stuff does, because the whole the double retention started this year, and then I think the playoff cap does as well. I think. But,
yeah. I don't think Barron moves in terms of from a perspective of will the Winnipeg Jets be willing to listen on a player like that? I don't think so.
What? You don't think they really?
Oh no, not like listen, but like trade him. Like I don't know. I don't think they're gonna move him. I think they'd rather move out Nino or Vlad as opposed to Barron. Obviously, the return will be more enticing. Should they move Morgan Barron is a whole nother discussion, I think. But in terms of will the Winnipeg Jets move Morgan Barron, I think it's a no.
Yeah, I'm no fun in this. Should they move? Because it's always what's the return? Because the answer is always, should they move? Yeah.
Are
you getting Connor McDavid? Sure. 1 for 1 Morgan Barron.
The Oilers want to shed some cap and give you number 97. Yeah.
But
nice
but I think kind of in the aggregate, he's a guy who I like in the role that he's in. And, he's, again, not a washed middle six guy, an actual bottom six guy who's got the sauce. So
exactly.
It's interesting.
Exactly. It is interesting. And we'll have to wait and see. Again, it's being hyped up as this first trade deadline this week with the roster freeze Wednesday night. I doubt anything actually happens, but we will see. And the actual trade deadline is March 6th. But Lyss, you know what else starts in February? And when the roster freeze ends, the Winter Olympics. And we'll talk a little bit more next week about the hockey. We're going to have a special guest on. It's going to be great. We're going to talk about all the teams, because that'll be a great preview episode for the Winter Olympics in terms of the games will not have started yet. We'll probably have some Team Canada lines from practice looking to next week. Who's playing with Connor McDavid? Going to be super fun. So we'll talk more about like our full Olympic thoughts breakdown next week. But Lyss, just as an aside, how pumped are you for the Winter Olympics in general?
I am the ultimate target audience for Olympic coverage. Okay, like during the Olympics, summer, winter, every single year, I will put anything on my TV. I honestly, one of the main reasons I pay for cable is so that I have all those channels. I know that's free on CBC Gem and everything, but I have an old TV and it's easier for me to just do things on cable. But I love the Olympics so much because I will get into anything. I will get into any sport. I watch like Australian rules football when it's on cable. If it's the only thing on like a Saturday morning, like I'll put it on, no problem. But there's the fact that the sports are all super cool and super fun, especially the Winter Olympics, because I feel like my favorite thing about the Winter Olympics is that it's like, how is this real? Like these extreme sports are like, I would die if I tried any of these.
How about the time change this year too?
So
they're all going to be like, wake up, throw on the Olympics. Like it's going to be great.
I love it. And I have a general like idea of most like regional time zones, like when the Australian Open is and stuff like that, because of how much I watch them. And I love when things are in Italy and like that kind of like, time zone over there, like that kind of middle of Europe sort of situation. But I'm jazzed about it because there's all of that about the fact that the sports are fun and they're entertaining and everything. Plus, there's the added element of you can turn it on and all of a sudden a guy's at the top of the ski hill and it's like his second run or whatever, and he's ranked second already with his scores, and he's got that little stupid maple leaf beside him, and you're like, I would die for this guy.
Yeah.
I would die for him. Oh my God, this is my guy. And you have no idea who he is. But now for the next 30 minutes for his next like 4 attempts or whatever, you're like, oh my gosh, this is my guy. So the fact that the sports are super entertaining, plus you could just like lock in on your key people. Like, there's the Canadians, like patriotic cinema. It's going to be so much
I can't wait to lock in on this super underground unknown guy named Sidney Crosby. I don't know if you ever heard of him, but he plays ice hockey. Super excited to lock in, see how he fares in this setting.
I'm excited about Rachel Homan, man. I'm excited about Mikhail Kingsbury, bro. Like I'm excited about like all these sports. Hockey, it'll be great.
Yeah, it'll be great.
I'm also here for all the other sports too.
It'll be great. And we're going to get to our Chud's Power Sports Power Poll in just a moment, but we got this super nice comment here from James. I'm a podcast listener, but wanted to jump on and say how much I appreciate your guys' content. Keep up the good work, and I'll be liking and rating 5 stars. Really, really appreciate it. Thank you so much. And we're talking about the Olympics. We're going to talk more about the hockey next week, of course. But first, Lyss, we're going to get to our power poll here. And on Friday, Remus and I did a bit of a consensus, like top 5 Winter Olympic sports. And I asked you for your thoughts this week, and you provided them with me. And we excluded hockey because for us, hockey's obviously number one. I think for a lot of people, especially with best on best coming back for the men's side, unbelievable. Hockey's number one and by far number one, all of those things, right? So you excluded hockey. But before we get to your power poll and your top 5 Winter Olympic sports, let me give a shout out to our friends over at Chud's Powersports. They have a brand new website, sleek design, over at chudspowersports.com. And right now, they've got a ton of great deals going on Polaris vehicles, all of these things. They've got their e-commerce store in the top right. I'll get to that in just a moment. Their snow day deals are on right now, of course. And it's the middle of winter. It's ice fishing season. It's snowboarding season. Chud's Powersports has you covered with everything that you might need. Let's take a browse at some of these Arctic Cat snowmobiles. I mean, if you're snowmobiling, they have all of the selection that you need on this website here. And Lyss, I don't know about you. I'm personally not ripping $30K on a snowmobile, but there are a lot of snowmobile fans out there, especially in Winnipeg, a lot of trails. If you want the best in snowmobile equipment, it's here over at chudspowersports.com. You can also check them out at the corner of Highway 8 and 231 out in Gimli. And they've been serving Manitobans for over 80 years, almost into their 9th decade. So you're getting the best service from Chud's Powersports. And again, their e-commerce store, nice little button in the top right here. They have a ton of other equipments here that you can take a look at that, for all of your ice fishing or snowboarding or snowmobiling needs, goggles, helmets, pants, accessories, jackets, t-shirts, all of these things they have over on their e-commerce store. So thank you to Chuds for sponsoring our Power Polls here on the Winnipeg Sports Talk channel and giving us the opportunity to do silly things like our top 5 Winter Olympic sports. So check them out, chudspowersports.com or out in Gimli, corner of Highway 8 and 231. Now, Lyss, let's get to your top 5 Winter Olympic sports outside of hockey. Hockey is in another stratosphere for you. It's not even worthy of being put on the list. It is so far up. But here's Lyss. I'll let you talk through your top 5 because this is your list, and I can't wait to pick it apart.
All right. So up number 1, freestyle skiing. I am a skiing girl over a snowboarding girl, to be honest with you. And I love watching all of the alpine skiing, all of the skiing stuff, whatever. I had to put freestyle though up at number 1. Number 2, curling. I will die on the hill that curling rules. Curling is so much fun. I love curling, and I am so Rachel Homan is, as Manitobans, we've been spoiled with Jennifer Jones representation for, the last however long. Rachel Homan has had an incredible career as well, and she is going to be fantastic at the Olympics. I've been locked in on the Scotties this week, some big games today at the Scotties as well. So jazz for curling. I love me some curling and mixed doubles curling. We got a married couple for Team Canada this year. I think it's Peterman and Gallant. So excited about that as well. So I love curling. So excited. Plus there's 3 events. There's men's, women's, and mixed doubles. I have a buddy who bet on Canada getting 3 medals in curling at the Olympics, and it was like a crazy payout. Insane bet. So good.
It's an exclusive at Coolbet right now, if I'm not mistaken. I think so. I think I'll have to double check this, but I believe it's an exclusive at Coolbet that Canada will sweep the men's, women's, and mixed curling. But anyways, continue.
Wow. Okay. All right. Next, I got bobsled. I only wanted to put one of the downhill sledding events, if that's what you want to call it, between bobsled, luge, and skeleton on here, just because in general I do prefer the like downhill mountains, all this sort of stuff.
Okay.
So I had to pick the one that has multiple people because it is hilarious and awesome. And also I kind of hate skeleton, I can't lie, because I'm genuinely terrified about everyone's spinal cords when they are doing that sport.
Fair.
Next we got snowboarding. Not a huge half pipe gal. I really prefer the kind of like downhill sort of stuff, everything like that. The jumps, the cool things. We've had some pretty good snowboarders from Canada kind of in the past. I believe Mark McMorris is still competing this year. He hasn't retired yet or anything
Mark
like
Morrison.
that. Mark Morrison,
carry
he will
on.
be there. And Morgan Klimchuk is going to be like, woo.
Yeah.
So big fan of the snowboarding for the same reasons that I'm a fan of the skiing and stuff like that. And then ski jumping is last because it's kind of terrifying, but it's also sick as hell. So this is my Chud's Powersports Power Poll top 5 Winter Olympic sports.
Love it. And I see some people in chat giving some love to the luge. I think that's a popular one for sure. And I didn't even know, I never know the name of this. I literally asked Remus on air, what's
Nordic
the name
Combine?
of the one? No, what's the name of the one where they ski and then they stop and they shoot? I was like,
Biathlon.
I don't know. Yeah, I know, but I didn't know. But anyways, that's on my top 5. I don't know the name of it, but it's sick. That's in my top 5. Biathlon's in my top 5.
Biathlon's one of my least favorites, to be honest.
Wow.
I just cross country skiing doesn't really do it for me. I'm like, okay.
Like
it's not it's not as exciting.
You kind of like lean
shoot.
up when when they have to like lower their heart rate and do all this stuff, and then they miss and they have to do some penalty laps.
It's kind of my favorite thing about the Winter Olympics, though, is that if you were to try and like take out the context of like life that you know and everything and just hone in on the sport, you're like, how is this real?
Yeah.
What is this?
Yeah.
This is the most insane thing ever. Like, biathlon. It's
who thought of that? Yeah. Who thought
Nordic
of
Combine,
that sport?
same thing. It's like,
yeah.
Nordic Combine's insane. But.
Yeah. Short track speed skating. That was a big one for Remo.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Speed skating, again, one of those things, put it into a similar bucket as curling. If you're Manitoban, I feel like you need to give it a little bit of extra love just because of how excellent, in particular, our women's athletes have been in the last however long. But speed skating, I put it into the same category as like cycling in the Summer Olympics. I'm kind of like, I'll put it on. I'm not shutting it off, but I'm not choosing it over some guy doing flips down a mountain on skis.
100%. And yeah, I'm all in the skiing too. The alpine skiing is my favorite, where they are just ripping down a mountain and they like miss one turn by half a second and they're cooked. And it's like, what am I watching? Right? Like they're going, as someone who's a very casual skier, my jaw is always on the floor at how fast they are going down that mountain. I'm like, that's scary.
Connor leans 8 degrees over on down Mississippi and he's like, whoa. Okay.
Send me to Milan.
White boy got the sauce.
Yeah,
okay.
Send me to Milan. No. But yeah, I'm an alpine skiing fan for sure. And then, the ski jumping, another scary one. A lot of these are just scary in terms of the health of these athletes. It's just some of these sports are crazy. Some of these sports are indeed crazy. But that's your Power Poll, Chud's Power Sports. Thank you to Chud's for sponsoring all of our Power Polls here on Winnipeg Sports Talk. And check them out, chudspowersports.com or truenorthparts.ca, their e-commerce store, right from their brand new, sleek website. Liz, let's get to our next segment here on the WST Sunday Live, little morning show. What do you want to talk about? You have a game.
I have a game for you.
You have a game.
You.
Okay.
I have a game
Continue.
for you.
Take it away.
Just kind of curious, just because this is not our full Olympic preview or whatever, but while we're here, I did want to just kind of get Connor's thoughts and everyone in the chat's thoughts as well. I'm going to quickly run through the groups of the men's and women's hockey super quick, and I want you to give me your final pre-tournament standings predictions, okay? So,
need to have them up.
Men's hockey. Don't look. I'm just going to give these to you, okay? Men's hockey, Group A. We have Canada, Czechia, Switzerland, and France. Everyone in the chat as well, and then Connor, give me your rankings. Canada, Czechia, Switzerland, and France. At the end of the group.
Okay, France won. Canada won. I'm joking. Canada won. Duh. Switzerland 2, Czechia 3, France 4. Yeah.
Wow.
Switzerland with Hischier, with Roman Josi. Big fan of that team. I think they're deeper than Czechia.
Who's their goalie?
For Switzerland?
Yeah.
Isn't it Akira Schmid?
Okay, yeah.
I think. But anyways, Czechia has some star power for sure. Nyquist, Pastrnak, but I don't think they're as deep as the Swiss. So I'm going to go with Switzerland number 2.
Okay, I like it. All right, next up, Group B. Slovakia, Finland, Sweden, Italy.
This group I'm here for. And Finland and Sweden, by the way, play at like 5 a.m. on a Thursday or something. So
no matter what.
I'm up. Can't wait. I'll go Sweden 1, despite all the injuries. I'll go Finland 2, Slovakia 3, and Italy. There's no home miracle here. Sorry, they're 4.
Not when you employ Alex Patan. I think it's
no. Sweden number 1. Yeah,
I think that makes sense.
Yeah.
And then Group C, United States, Latvia, Germany, Denmark. I'm interested to hear your thoughts on this one.
Ooh, Denmark's always good in international events. Yeah. Germany, though, like, they're kind of like Czechia for me, where they're maybe not as deep as other teams, but they have Draisaitl, Stützle, Seider. Like, they have these top-end guys that I think can get the job done.
Mm-hmm.
USA 1. I'll go Germany 2. Denmark's always really good in international competition, though. Like, just in general, weirdly enough. Like, it's usually like Ehlers and then just a bunch of dudes. But, yeah, I'll go with Germany. Denmark, and then what was the fourth one?
Latvia.
I'll go. Yeah. Yeah.
No, I think it's interesting because, like, I think the thing is, in the argument that some people had is like the way that Leon Draisaitl has been able to drag the Oilers against some like insane rosters. He can drag anyone, so why not drag Germany too? Okay, that makes sense. Now going into the women's side. Okay, Group A: Canada, Finland, Switzerland, USA, Czechia. It's 5 teams in Group A.
Wow.
Canada, Finland,
I was unaware.
USA,
so it's 2 groups.
Yeah.
Wow.
Actually, okay, let's start. I'll give you Group B first. I feel like Group B might be a little bit easier.
Okay.
Germany, Japan, Sweden, Italy, France.
Italy, France, bottom 2. Again, I don't
Japan?
think. Oh.
Germany, Japan. Germany, Japan, Sweden, Italy, France.
Okay, Sweden 1, Germany 2.
Okay.
Get that out of the way. Now, for the real hard-hitting analysis, Italy 3. There's a miracle on home ice. Yep.
Love it.
France 4, Japan 5.
Cool.
Boom.
Okay, perfect. Now let's go back to Group A.
Group A is a gauntlet, dude.
Group A is a gauntlet. It's insane. I don't know how these groups were built or anything like that. I don't know what the ranking process was, but yeah, it's kind of nuts. Canada, Finland, Switzerland, USA, Czechia.
I'm going with USA 1. Hear me out. USA has kind of owned Canada in the women's side the last year or so.
Yeah.
If
they're also
correct me if I'm wrong.
Nasty, unfortunately. But.
So I'm going. Here's my women's side prediction here. USA. This is a 2010 Olympics type ordeal. Canada loses to the US in the round robin or in the preliminary round, and then they win in the final. I don't even know. Like, they're in the same group. Can they? This is a good question here. Who was it? Rob Mahoney. Like, I'm assuming they're guaranteed to meet in the final. I mean, I'd hope in terms of like how it works out seeding wise for them to meet again in the final if they're in the same group.
Yeah.
But that'll be a great game when those 2 teams play each other. I'll go USA 1, Canada 2, Finland 3, Czechia 4, Switzerland 5. Could you imagine that group for the men's side?
What a gauntlet. That would be mess.
I'll go Canada loses to the US in the preliminary round, beats everyone else, and then in the finals they get their revenge. 3-2 in overtime, Marie-Philippe Poulin. Boom.
Godspeed.
Boom.
Okay.
Perfect.
Love it.
Group A is like the Central Division, Chuck. Yeah, good call. Yeah, that's nuts. I mean, I don't know what the like criteria is for why they made the groups this way, but those are some lopsided groups. I mean, the 3rd best team in Group A might be like Finland or Czechia or Switzerland, and the 3rd best team in Group B is going to be one of Italy, France, or Japan. So that's I mean, that's quite something. But anyways, yeah, super excited for all the hockey at the Olympics. It's going to be so much fun. The games are going to be so early, and I can't wait. And the ice seems to be in good shape, folks. It seems like they're going to get it done on time. Maybe my reaction about a month ago was a little over the top, But no, I stand by everything I said. Maybe I just motivated them to finish the ice quicker because it was an absolute joke that it was ever on track to not be done. All right, let's move on, Lyss, to our next segment, trending up, down. This is the part of the show where we pick one Winnipeg Jet who's trending up or down over the past week of play. Let us know in the chat down below your pick for trending up, down, and which player you think has played great over the last week, which player you think is trending down over the last week. Last week on Sunday Live, we took Salamonson and Taves for trending up, and Kyle Connor and Nino Niederreiter for trending down. So those players for Lyss and I are off the board, but if you're leaving a comment down below, they're not off the board for you. Take whoever you want. Trending up, down. Lyss, I'll let you go first for trending up.
Easy peasy. Cole Perfetti gets my trending up pick
Nice.
for this week. I think that he's a guy who we gave a little bit of love to a couple weeks ago, but he definitely deserves, I think, a little bit of extra shout out here. I know we talked about him a ton earlier in the show, but I think he's been good the last couple of games, and that's what trending up's all about. Guys who have been good and are giving us reasons to believe that they will continue to be good. So
Nice.
I will give it to Cole.
Nice. Doug says Salamonson, great pick. I thought he's followed up last week. We took him for trending up last week. I thought he's followed it up quite well. And I like your pick for Perfetti. He was definitely on my list. I'm going to take Eric Comrie. We brought up his stats earlier on, his last 3 starts. He's got a .960 save percentage. I know he only technically played the one game this week in terms of the spirit of the award for trending up, down. But Eric Comrie, in his last 3 starts, 1 goals against average, .960 save percentage, has made 72 out of 75 saves. Yesterday was awesome in the win over Florida. So I'm giving my trending up to Eric Comrie because I took him for trending down once when Hellebuyck wasn't around and got some flack for it. So I got to give him, again, call a spade, give him some credit when he plays well. I will give it to Eric Comrie. Lyss, who's your pick for trending down?
All right. I'm going to take a guy who I'm looking at our spreadsheet.
We haven't taken him all year.
We haven't taken him all year.
He's on my list. Go for it. Yeah.
I'm going to take Logan Stanley for my trending down pick this year. I actually am shook that he hasn't been taken once this year, and not because he's done anything
once.
particularly, but not once is kind of impressive for us. And I pat myself on the
and
back
impressive
for
for Stanley.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
For sure. Good for him. 100%. But
Yes.
Unfortunately, that streak ends today.
It does.
Just in terms of where the kind of pedigree of this player has been the last couple months, and then versus how the last little bit going into the Olympic break, trade deadline, all this different stuff is gone. Logan Stanley is going to get my trending down pick.
Okay. That is a good pick. It's the first time all season long that he's been taken for trending down. Unbelievable. But I brought it up earlier. I mean, the last 5 games, he's been outscored 8-2 at even strength, 29% expected goal share. The rate of all of the shots, chances, everything is heavily in the red. He's no goals, 3 minor penalties, and had a brutal, this week, Lyss, had quite the moment in the game against New Jersey. 4 turnovers in 1 shift. It was not a good look to end the first period.
Cinema. That was I've watched that shift more times than I've watched a lot of things as of late, just because it's anyways.
I mean, wild shift. I'm gonna take Alex Iafallo.
Good take.
I think when the Jets move Vilardi off of the top line, the hope is that with Iafallo there, they can maybe replace 80% of the offense that they usually do with Connor Scheifele, Vilardi, and Vilardi can go down to the second line and carry his own line. And I think looking at some of the numbers, it's been more around like the 50% replacing the offense range. And obviously there's going to be a drop off, but I don't think the Winnipeg Jets assumed that this would be the drop off in terms of offensive production when Iafallo went up to that line. And you look at all of these games where the Jets just haven't been scoring goals. They reunited the top line this week for a game in that New Jersey game, because Iafallo had a bad turnover in the first period and they hadn't been scoring goals. Shutout against the Blackhawks, double minor and an empty netter against St. Louis. So no even strength goals. Florida, Cole Perfetti scores at 4-on-4. Detroit, they get 1 goal. Then they reunite the top line. They score 4. Then they go top line and then move Iafallo back there in the third period against Tampa. A lot of line juggling, 1 goal. Yesterday, 2 goals. And one of them was Nyquist with Connor and Scheifele. So I know he's not there for offense, but I just don't think the Winnipeg Jets are getting the replicated offense they had hoped when putting Iafallo up there with the top line. And as a result, I mean, the Jets are putting up some pretty horrid 5-on-5 scoring numbers over the last 2 weeks. And that's really nothing to that's not breaking news. That's more like Captain Obvious stuff here. The Jets are struggling to score. Oh, where have you been all year? But I think that top line with Iafallo on it, the Jets were maybe hoping for a little bit more there. So I'm going to take Alex Iafallo for training down. Took Kyle Connor last week. So maybe Mark Scheifele, watch out. We'll see. Maybe he'll get trending down next week. We'll see. All right. Some great picks in the chat. Let me roll through some of these. The chat is fired up. That
my personal favorite, I had 4 turnovers one day: apple, cherry, raisin, and blueberry.
Donnie boy. Awesome.
Iconic.
But did you have those 4 turnovers in 1 minute and change? There you go. Yeah, that's a great comment there. Yeah, trending down, the tank is getting some picks, or Kenny's Waterball saying trending down like top 3 draft pick. A lot of people want the Jets to lose, get a better draft pick, of course. So we'll see. We'll see how all that goes the back half of this season. That's going to do it for Trending Up Down. Thank you, everyone, for dropping your picks in the comments down below. And if you're enjoying the stream, make sure you hit the like button. Really appreciate it. Now let's get to our final segment on today's show. Before we wrap, this is a fun one. One burning question. This is the part of the show where we throw it to you in the chat room. You fire off your questions about the Winnipeg Jets or really about anything, and we try and rapid fire through as many as we can before we wrap today's show. So drop your questions in the comments down below. Let's get right into it. I already see some questions. Let's get right into it. Wesley asks, what are the chances Eric Comrie gets traded as a pending UFA?
Yeah, to answer this question properly, I'd want to do a little bit more of like a recon on the backup goalies of some of the buying teams, if they're thinking that they need to just ensure that backup spot a scooch more. But I'm in the camp that he's probably not going to get traded, just because that's not a huge buying priority for a lot of teams, and they prefer to use their picks in other guys who are going to play more ice time than their backup goaltender will. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to go 25%.
I'm with you on that. I think, I do think his stint as a starter, whether you want to blame the 52% of the blame on him and 48 on the other team, or whatever you on the rest of the team, or whatever you want to assign the blame to Eric Comrie for his struggles earlier in the year, the stats weren't pretty when he was the starter. So I don't know if there's like some big cash waiting for him in free agency. I don't know if there's a massive market for him. I think teams will want to shore up their backup position, but I think the Jets think that they can just keep Eric Comrie and re-sign him in the offseason at, again, a going backup rate and keep him for next year too. Like I don't. So I'll say it's even lower than that. I'll go 10% or 15%. Sure. We'll go low. Doug asks, what do the Jets offer Perfetti for a contract? We touched a bit on this last week. One thing we did look at, Lyss, is that he's an RFA for 1 more year. So if they sign him to a 1-year deal, he'd be an RFA next year for the last time. So maybe it's just a 1 year.
A 1-year bridge doesn't walk into UFA, but a 2-year would. So
2-year would.
I think that impacts. Like, I think that there's no world in which they sign him to a 2-year deal. I say sure. 1 or like 4.
Yeah, and if it's 4.5 million, roughly 4,
something like that.
And then if it's 1, I think it's the same money he's at now, like 3 million, 3.25. Yeah. Anyways, Chuck asks, it's 2030. Scheifele, Connor, Morrissey, Hellebuck are starting to age out. Is Perfetti part of the core or still a complementary piece? Good question.
Good question.
I think you and I might disagree on this, but I'm going to go with a complementary piece still. I think Cole Perfetti at his best is going to be a strong complementary piece. I don't think he's going to be a Scheifele in terms of a core piece that is like driving a top line. I don't know. I'd go strong complementary piece, but even that is a hot take amongst certain corners of the fan base with how Cole Perfetti's season has gone so far.
Yeah, I'm going to go core. Just because I think that these players are, like you said, they're really starting to age out even already. They're starting, and I think that there's so little kind of in the pipeline for the Winnipeg Jets that they're going to have to turn him into a core piece of this team if he's not on pace to be one. They're going to need to make sure that he is one. So I think by 2030, he's going to be a core piece.
Interesting. I disagree.
Cool.
We'll move on because we already talked about Perfetti a lot today. And choice is TK over under 2.5. How many players does Chevy move before or at the trade deadline?
I'm going under. I think he moves 2 players.
Stanley Shen?
Yeah. I just think that in terms of like
I'll go over
the way that last trade deadline kind of went in terms of like holding out and seeing what's there, whatever. Like I think at a certain point, like the waiting game might hurt the Jets. And like the risk is relatively low to hold on to some of these contracts. It is what it is kind of thing. Mm-hmm. I'm going to go, they only move 2 players. I'm
going to go over because if we're working under the assumption that the 2 is like Stanley and Shen, and then it's like, okay, who else? I think one of Pearson, Nyquist, even Miller, like, I don't know. I think one of these guys just won't be around, whether it's as a part of a package with one of those guys or on their own for just kind of a mid-round pick. I do think it's going to be over Pearson, Nyquist, Koepke even. I think the Jets will want to bring Koepke back. But again, pending UFA, I don't know. We'll see.
If the return is there, you take it.
Yeah.
But I just think based on kind of
and then there's the wild card of like Nino and Vlad too. So I could see
it. And I would love that. I think it makes things more fun. I think it's the right way to go. All this different stuff. I just don't know if it happens. I'm going under.
Interesting. Okay. Dallas, will Eric start the last 2 games before the break? I doubt it. I think it'll be Hellebuck tomorrow. I think I know he's played great, but I don't think that this is going to change their goaltending schedule.
And division rival, they're going into Texas, whatever. Like I think that they play Hellebuck on Monday. Eric could play against Montreal on Wednesday. I still don't really think so, but I don't know. But I don't think he'll play both games. That's for sure.
One burning question from Donnie Boy: does Scheifele go to the Olympics? So
no.
Even if Braden Point is hurt, I'm still like, okay, obviously no, he's not on the team. But the question here is around like if Braden Point can't go, is Scheifele the replacement? Here's my theory. Zach Hyman leads all Canadians in goals, or all Canadians who aren't on the team, not on the Olympic team, in goals since the team was announced. So since January 1st, of all the Canadians that aren't on the team, I think like Mark Stone is first, McDavid's up there, and then Hyman is right there too. I think if Braden Point's not playing, they're gonna they envisioned Point as a guy who'd play with McDavid, I'd think. And I think they're going to want to go for that immediate chemistry. We can put this guy with Connor McDavid. We don't have to think about it. He'll just play with McDavid sort of thing. Like, I don't think they're going to overthink it. I don't know where you're at. I think that works against Scheifele. Another thing that really works against Scheifele is the fact that he got blanked on Thursday against Team Canada's head coach and Team Canada's guys in Cirelli and Hagel that went up against him. So I think that is another aspect to it. But I think it's going to be Zach Hyman as the replacement because Bedard, since his injury, hasn't been as good. Scheifele's been great, but I just think that that's kind of working against him in terms of Zach Hyman being a guy who plays with McDavid daily, has instant chemistry, and is producing with McDavid right now, can put him on the top line immediately, a good Braden Point replacement. I don't know. Where are you at on this?
Yeah. No, I think that, and I was of the mind that I didn't think that Bennett was like a surefire replacement guy just because, again, he was a guy who had to play his way off of this team, not play his way onto it because he was on the 4 Nations roster. So them leaving him at home had to have been deliberate. So I don't know, but I still think that he's more likely than Scheifele at this point. And I agree with you that I think Zach Hyman is just kind of waiting in the wings. So I say no, Scheifele's not going to the Olympics, guys.
Okay. No chance. Yeah, and like Doug here says, Hyman only succeeds playing with McDavid. That's all they need. That's all Canada needs, right? Like,
if he doesn't play with McDavid, someone else does, whatever. You could scratch him. He doesn't even need to play.
Totally. I mean, you can scratch anyone. You can scratch anyone. You can't scratch anyone. You can't scratch McKinnon, McDavid, Crosby, duh. But of the guys that are,
and I'm interested to see who ends up being their first choice as a scratch. I really am.
I'm scared it's going to be Celebrini, but that's a conversation for next Sunday when we talk more about the Olympics, because I have a feeling, young kid, as good as he is this year, bring him along slow, which again, whatever. But
and also play him against France or something like that.
Well, the first 2 games are Czechia.
Czechia is their first game.
Czechia is their first game, And then their second game is Switzerland, I want to say.
Yeah.
So, I mean, like, you're into it.
They play Switzerland on that Sunday, I think.
Yeah. Does Nyquist score a goal as a Jet before he's traded from Chuck? Yes or no, Liz?
No.
No?
He hasn't scored in, 30 games this year? He's not scoring in the next 5. Is he even going to play?
Guys, I took... If you remember in training camp, we did our power polls on our top 5 goal songs for the Winnipeg Jets. I took Gustav Nyquist's goal song as my number 1. That's like a cursed image now. It was Waterloo by ABBA. And guess what? We did hear it once. We did. When he scored against the Minnesota Wild, it played and then it got reviewed and taken back. But we still heard the goal song and it still slaps, so I stand by my take. But we haven't...
We heard Luke Schen's goal song before we heard Gus Nyquist's.
And Luke Schenn has the worst goal song. It's like...
I don't even remember what it is.
It's no L's. Go listen to it after today's show. Let me know what you think. Yeah, it's quite the song.
I appreciate your concern.
Quite the song. I'll just say that. No, but hey, they played it in-house. I was in the seats for that game too with my dad. It was great. And we heard it. We heard the goal song, so it counts. And I'll stand by my take. All right. I don't think there's really anything else here. Lots of great questions. We'll end with this one. It's the question about Scott Arniel. Rob Mahoney. Has Coach Arniel done enough to survive for another season? Someone has to pay for the price for a lost season, Rob says. Where are you at? Where's your Scott Arniel meter at these days heading into the break list?
Yeah, I don't know. I think that, again, it's one of those things that if they were going to get rid of Scott Arniel in any capacity, I think they would have done so when the team lost 11 straight. So I'm going to say that I don't know that he's shown enough to survive another season, or if just behavior makes me think that he will stick around. So I don't know that shown enough is a word that I would use. I think that it's the sort of thing that head coaches are pretty expendable in the National Hockey League. You know, they wear a lot. They get changed like a t-shirt in your closet pretty quickly. Not nearly as bad as the NFL, but it's a pretty consistent revolving door.
Yeah.
And I just don't know that it's in the Winnipeg Jets' nature to bid adieu to, a historical Winnipegger, Manitoba Moose, all this different stuff. So I'm back and forth on it. I just think that I don't know what there's President's Trophy versus, first to last kind of in the league sort of sitch. So I think I'm going to have to lean towards he stays. But if I were the GM of this hockey team, I think I would be making some phone calls this offseason to see what else is out there.
Interesting. Okay. So much of coaching comes down to one question, and it's, are you elevating the team? Yes or no? Like, are you elevating the group? Are you getting the most out of your players? And I think this is one that I could argue both sides of. I still think Scott Arniel is a good coach. I still think that the team that he's working with this season went cold for stretches at a time, and that he wears some of that as well. It's not on True North, or it's not in their DNA to fire someone mid-season. So I like, even after 11 straight losses, it was like none of us were really expecting it per se. But in the offseason, to mutually part ways would be a way that they would go about this, right? I would still today, even if it's the odds of it are negative, bet on Scott Arniel being the coach for opening night next year. And the reasoning from a Jets perspective probably being he had one great year, one bad year. This is the show me year. This is the okay.
And I have time for that.
Okay. Yeah.
To a degree.
Okay. Yeah. There you go. I don't know. It's an interesting question, and one that maybe doesn't get brought up as much just around the Winnipeg Jets this season, because we're focusing so much on the game-to-game and all these players that are struggling to score.
The game-to-game and Kevin Shoveldayoff,
Yes.
Like I feel like it.
Yes, exactly. I think he'll be the head coach starting next season.
I think my thing is just that I don't know that this is – I kind of felt the same way about the core kind of going into last year. It's like, it's not that they're bad. It's not that they're bad at all, but can you go as far as you want to go with this group? And jury's still up for me on even the court. Like, can you go win a Stanley Cup with Mark Scheifele as your 1C, Connor Hellebuyck as your back or as your starting goaltender, and Josh Morrissey as your 1A? Mm-hmm. I don't know. I'm still undecided, to be completely honest with you. And I think the same thing applies to Scott Arniel for me. Is I don't know if the ceiling is as high as it would need to be if you're looking to kind of get back into this contention area and stuff like that. So I don't know.
Yeah, totally. Boring Sean Monahan says, isn't his contract up at the end of the season? Easy not to extend. Bonus's contracts were 2 years, or his one contract was like 2 years.
The Jets don't announce how long their contracts are, do they? Yeah.
No, but it was like reported that for Bones it was. So I'm assuming for Arniel it was. No, like we don't know. It's not public. We don't know. But I'm assuming it was 2 years because that's just like how maybe it works. I don't know. But maybe there's a coach option. Maybe there's a team option. I don't like head coaching contracts are a lost art to me. I have no clue any of that stuff. But anyways, one burning question. Thank you everyone for submitting your great questions in the chat down below. Lyss, anything else up for you the rest of the weekend?
Yeah, not too much to be honest with you. I think today's going to be a day.
You're not checking out the Mid-Canada RV and boat sale?
I'm not. Are you? Oh wait, you already did. Tell me about it.
I saw Issa Boy Bruce in the chat earlier. Saw him at the RV and boat sale yesterday.
No way.
What a guy.
No way.
What a guy. Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, it's my dad's birthday weekend. It's his birthday today. Happy birthday, Dad. I'm sure he's watching right now. Fun yesterday. Won a chair, Lyss. He won a chair. So they're announcing over the PA, like, if it's your birthday, please come to the front. And my dad's like, no, like, I'm not doing that. Like, I don't want to, like, be in the, like, have them singing happy birthday, all of that stuff. And then they go up and they're like, yeah, here you go. Congrats. You've won a heated, like, love seat chair that's great for camping. And I was like, there you go.
Yo.
Boom. Unreal.
Kenny.
Unreal. So we walked out of there with plenty to go around. The Hrabchak family. It was elite.
Yeah. No, not too much for me this week. Actually, fun thing happening this week. My podcast, Chud Chat, celebrates its first anniversary, so very fun.
Nice.
That's coming up with the first episode ever dropped on February 5th of last year, so we're celebrating 1 year of my show, and you guys can be the first to know that I have something kind of fun cooking up over there. But in the meantime, if you feel like subscribing to my newsletter, you can do that. I can pop the link in the chat because my next edition is all about shooting the puck, and it comes out in next week on Wednesday. So if you feel like sub into that, it's free and it's very fun. I have a lot of fun writing it. So I'll toss the link in the chat if you're listening. And yeah, I think that's kind of it for me. I'm looking forward to seeing everyone at WST night on Wednesday, and looking forward to watching Team USA snub Jason Robertson score 3 goals against the Winnipeg Jets tomorrow, and then not score any goals against Team Canada in the finals in Milan in February, as he and his cats hang out and say, hey, just sitting around wondering if there's something I should be doing. So yeah, looking forward to soaking in the last 2 games of Winnipeg Jets hockey before I inevitably sit in the corner and shake and cry for the next 3 weeks while I wait for them to come back.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, 2 more games left. WST ticket night coming up on Wednesday. Super excited for that. Lyss, just one more thing. I need to share this with the viewers. I chose one game months ago to cover on the road this year. I chose one game, okay? And guys, I need some advice here because it's rough. I chose one game months ago, and it might be the single most inconsequential hockey game on the schedule this year. The one game I'm covering on the road this year for Winnipeg Sports Talk, Vancouver Canucks, first game out of the break. How much fun will that be? That'll be cinema. The Gavin McKenna Bowl. I can't wait. Anyways, I'll be on the road for one game this year. Great vacation. Spending the whole week in Vancouver. I'll be out there. Going to be super fun. But anyways, last 2 games here. Let me scroll back up. This game right here, WST Ticket Pack Night against the Montreal Canadiens on Wednesday. Super pumped for that. Original 6 team. Pumped to see all of you WSTers there at the game. And thank you, everyone, for watching today's show. From Lyss and I, thanks for watching WST Sunday Live. Remus and I will be back tomorrow, 1 o'clock, right here on the Winnipeg Sports Talk channel. Huss is still in Costa Rica until Wednesday, so Huss will be on the show Wednesday, and then he'll be at the game on Wednesday night with the rest of you WSTers. Can't wait to see everyone there. If you haven't got your tickets yet, winnipegjets.com/WST. Last game before the break, we can salute all of our Olympians here in Winnipeg as they go on to compete for their countries. Morrissey, Connor, Hellebuck, and Niederreiter for Team Switzerland, of course. That's going to do it for us. From Lyss Houde, I'm Connor Hrabchak. Thanks for watching this edition of WST Sunday Live. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, and we'll talk to you tomorrow, 1 o'clock, right here on Winnipeg Sports Talk.